Mostly people are coming here to like retire.
They're older.
Yeah,
like
they're
50 plus, yeah.
even 60 plus, even 70 plus. So you're like, yes, young enough. How old are you? Like 20?
Turning 21.
Very cool.
In 2 weeks.
Oh wow!
So,
Happy
yeah,
almost birthday.
Yeah, thank you. You already have your questions laid out, or?
I do not. For me, I'm more spontaneous.
Okay.
Which is a nice way of saying lazy.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you prepare like all your videos out pretty well?
I'm structured like that, yeah.
You don't even have to say. Can I say that again? Just say it again. Gresha.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, she'll take it over from there. So sometimes I'll say things 3 times in a row until I get it right.
Same, I do the same.
How's it going, guys? Today I got Trinidad with me. Very interesting story. 20-year-old living in the Philippines. He also has a YouTube channel. Make sure and check it out in the link below. But for now, let's talk. Trinidad, great to have you here.
Yes, thank you for having me, John.
So I think we met just one time about maybe a year ago.
Yes.
Is that right? Now, have you moved here already at that time, or was that exploring?
I just fully committed. I did want to start traveling as soon as I could, and I actually took this opportunity to not only travel, but also do school.
Great, great. So let's back up for a sec. So you were not born in the Philippines. Where were you born?
No. I was originally born in the United States. I'm Mexican, fully Mexican, but I lived and born and raised in the United States.
Very cool. So you came over here at first. Why?
When I was doing my college applications back in senior year, I was applying to all of these different ones, like San Diego State, that's actually got accepted to. I was going to New York, just different places, and then I noticed that the tuition alone is like a lot. Senior year, I also did a communications class, and one of my speeches was a persuasive speech, basically based off of college tuition. So I went into a really depth research on just like the tuition, and I figured out that it takes minimum 15 to 20 years to pay off your student loan debt. And that's something you can't get rid of. Like the other ones, you can't bankrupt them. And that kind of scared me because I didn't want to be into debt as soon as I graduated after 4 years.
It's very smart. So how does the tuition compare in the Philippines compared to the US?
It costed me, I think it was $700 to $800 for like one semester.
Okay.
Here in the Philippines, right? And then for San Diego State, I was going to be paying $60,000 for one semester.
So huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yes. Now here, it's okay if you want to keep it private, but do you mind saying where you're going to college here?
I am going to University of San Carlos. Before coming to here and attend college, I was looking at different universities. I looked at University of Philippines. I didn't want to go to Manila. A lot of people have asked me when I go to schools, like, why didn't you go to Manila? And one, it's like very overcrowded. Traffic, I heard it's bad. The schools are good, but for me, I didn't want to be in a congested area. So second best option was Cebu. And I like it here, and a lot of people from Manila actually come here. And yeah, I like it here better.
Sorry, Manila people. So, University of San Carlos is very prominent college here. Whenever I get applicants at Purple Cow and people go to San Carlos, they'll always kind of stand a bit straighter and be very proud that they went to San Carlos. What's your experience been like, studying with Filipinos, being a long way away from California? It
was weird because the first semester we were still fully online. Philippines are kind of delayed in that transition from face-to-face classes or hybrids. This semester they actually did implement the face-to-face and online, and I noticed that there's a big difference between the two. Just studying here is a completely different. To me, it feels like it's the level of high school, like the workload that I did. In the terms of like studying, it's kind of the same.
So it doesn't really feel like you've moved up to college. It's kind of like starting off as, an extra year of 12th grade, something like that?
For me, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Do you feel like it's a different experience just being around people in a different culture?
Yes, it is. The Filipinos, I love Filipinos. They're just very friendly people.
So what about making friends? Has that been easy? Has that been hard?
It's easier to make friends here and be more social than it is back in the States, in my opinion.
I actually went to 3 different high schools, so that was,
wow.
and 3 different colleges, as it turns out as well. So
Wow, okay.
I really understand what that's like going to a new place. I've also studied, in Australia with college, so I know
Cool.
going to other countries and studying is really different as well. As an older guy, I found Filipinos super friendly.
If I knew that the Filipino culture was very outgoing, very friendly, I probably would have met friends a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what happens when you just have that certain mindset. You just grow up in a certain community, and so you switch into a different community. Eventually, you're going to start adapting to it. So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So you came here at 19. You're 20 now.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to other 20-somethings if they were thinking of moving to the Philippines? A good move?
Maybe you don't have to do school per se. I actually encourage you to do school. If you're around my age and you don't want to be in debt after going to college for 4 years and then being stuck paying the next 15 to 20 years off, I suggest you should come to the Philippines to travel. But if you also are looking for another way to do college, USC is a really good school because the credits are transferable and the textbooks that you're being taught are actually done in the United States. So it's not even Filipino currency, nothing like that. In terms of like what I'm learning in my finance classes, it's all the United States books.
What are you studying? Like, what degree are you going after?
My major is financial management.
What about after college? Any plans? Do you think you would go back to California or stay here?
I see myself probably extending my stay here in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or just continue traveling the Philippines. Just keep on exploring. I'm actually supposed to go to Siargao in 2 weeks.
Nice.
So that's the first time I'll be at that island. I do see a lot of places here in the Philippines. There's like, 7,000 islands here?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to explore. I don't mind exploring more of this beautiful country.
What are some of the differences in culture that you've really liked?
That I liked here, besides the friendliness, I would say I love food. I'm a big foodie, so I've just been trying the different foods, and just doing that alone, I've actually connected with a lot of people. I actually like the weather here. The beaches are really nice here. For me, I feel less stressed here. That's a big thing too. I don't have all this pressure and anxiety. When I actually came here, I felt like my stress level has reduced by a lot.
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that as someone about 100 years younger than me, because those are a lot of the things that I love about the Philippines.
Yes.
So what about maybe some things that you found challenging?
The most challenging part was getting my documents transferred from a tourist visa, and for me to do school, you had to be on a student visa. So I did that process while I was here. The roads don't really bother me. I didn't actually have a culture shock, which shocked me. My dad was just obsessed with this place, and he was watching a bunch of YouTubers. So I kind of just got familiarized with like how the streets looked. So when I actually got here, I'm like, oh, this is what it looks like in person.
So that's another interesting thing. You mentioned your dad. Before I met you, I met your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we met through this channel online, and I just thought your dad was a super nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he came over here, we caught up in person, and then I got to meet you. It's interesting because we lived so close to each other and worked so close to each other in California, and then now we're about 7,500 miles away and still living very close to each other. So very small
world.
Yes. What's it like for both of you just being father-son living over here? Has that changed any dynamics?
We've always been close since I moved with him. He actually pushed me to come out here just to try it.
I love that both of you came over here because often there'll be, the dad that will come over here. And often the dad is older, so often retired. I think it's super interesting that father and son both a bit younger, come out here, but especially yourself. You're for sure the youngest, expat I've met here. But what about at school? I know that there's people that come from other countries here a lot to study, but what about Americans?
Most of them were Chinese, and when I looked at American, I think it was like maybe 5 or 6.
Okay.
And actually met one of them.
Okay.
2 weeks ago. He's from Arizona, and he's my age too. Same situation. Me and him are very similar. He's actually half Filipino, half black.
So I see a lot of students coming from Africa, coming from India,
Yes.
especially taking medical degrees. So one of my good friends, she's from Africa, taking a nursing degree
Oh, that's cool.
over here as well. She's been on the channel before as well. Talking to some of the other students, even from places like Africa, their tuition for like nursing degrees, medical degrees are so high in their own countries.
Yeah,
So
I heard
it's
that too.
interesting that they're coming here also to not wind up in a lot of debt.
That's
So
true.
I'm sure in the US they'd be even in far more debt. So I think really wise
Yes.
wise choice. Yeah. And also the international experience is really a bonus, especially for somebody so young to just experience living in another culture. Be curious to see whether you wind up staying here for the long run or whether you ever wind up going back. What would you bet if you had to guess today?
Probably stay here. Yes, I love my family back at home. I miss my food because I'm Hispanic. Other than family and food, I really don't miss the States.
I've said a lot of
Yeah.
times on my channel,
Yeah, I just
I don't miss the US, but I miss my kids and I miss Mexican food.
Yes,
So those are
exactly.
really the only two things I miss. Of course, my family is well, but it is surprising there's no good Mexican food over here. The closest I found is in Boracay. If you haven't ever been to that island, I really
Okay.
recommend a place called Tres Amigos. That is pretty good. So
Okay, I would have to try it.
yeah. You have a YouTube channel. Tell us a bit more about it.
I actually just wanted to document my life here in the Philippines.
I'll make sure and drop a link to Trinidad's channel before. Make sure and subscribe and say hi to him from me. It's been great, having you on the channel, and look forward to hanging out with you and your dad more and seeing more of your adventures over here.
Yes.
Yeah, really appreciate you making the time to be on the channel.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, guys, as always, appreciate you taking the time to watch. Don't forget to check out Trinidad's channel, and take care.
Thank you. Bye.